Okay, 5 years. I started telling stories here in 2012, which was when, well, maybe even 2011. Actually, I think it was 2012. I just moved to Toronto, and so I've shared so many moments with you guys over my 3 years, and I wish I could have been here since the beginning because I like telling stories. Grew up listening to some great storytellers myself. I've cried on stage here, I've smiled and laughed. I farted once. I don't think anybody caught that, so just letting you know. That's what happens at Raconteurs. Um, I can remember the first time I came to Raconteurs. I heard about it. A friend told me about it, and he said, you should go. You've got so many cool stories, and I was like, okay, I'm excited. I'm gonna meet people just like me, because I always grew up feeling like I was a pretty normal person, and but usually my friends say, the weird thing about you, Real, is you think you're normal. So a little background. I'm Nainio Cree from northern Saskatchewan, and I grew up living on the land, hunting, fishing, no power, no roads, no electricity, and no running water. I think I said that. And my mom jokes, to get water at our house, you have to run down to the river, and that's running water where we live. So I just thought that was normal, and bear attacks and all that stuff. It's just normal stuff. And so most of my stories are about that. And so this story is no different. It's about last year. I went on a pretty epic canoe trip. And when I say epic, it's literally epic always. And I kind of learned this from my dad. And actually, when we go on a canoe trip, it's not really a trip. It's actually more of a race. And I'm totally serious about it. It is actually a race. We go out there and we are training. I mean, I go around the world canoeing and competing in different events myself. And I learned this from my dad, who is a world champion, and he's kind of my coach. So when we go on a trip, it's epic. And last year, this trip was normally takes people probably a month. It ended up taking us 3 days, and nonstop. We started from my house, which is in Cumberland House, Saskatchewan, and we paddled to Cross Lake, Manitoba. I won't really tell you the first 2 days, which took what happened there, because it's just the standard, epic nonstop canoeing stuff. What I really wanted to tell you today was the last day, which actually took 18 hours nonstop paddling. And we started off on an island just outside of Grand Rapids, Manitoba, which is on Lake Winnipeg. And I grew up hearing about Lake Winnipeg, and I saw it on a map, and I really liked maps growing up as a kid, and I'd flip through our atlas, and you see the map of Canada, and Lake Winnipeg's this big, and the map of Manitoba and Lake Winnipeg's like big. It looks like a really big body of water, and you don't really get an idea of it, even though I grew up in the area, because the road kind of goes around the lake. It's not one of those nice lakeside roads, so you don't really get an idea of how big the lake is until you actually really go out on the lake. And even from the community of Grand Rapids, it's kind of, you don't really get to see it. There's kind of a little bit of a channel. And so we paddled through there, and we're like, oh, this lake isn't that big, and then all of a sudden we come out of this little narrow channel, and we can see, like, literally the only point of land that we can see is the point we just came from. And it's just like emptiness, huge lake, and it actually has a swell to it, so the water's constantly going, just like an ocean would. Any big lake kind of has that. Lake Superior, and it's the 10th biggest lake in the world, so it's a huge lake. So we're out there. This story, we get up this morning, and we're excited and nervous about this lake. We know we have to cross this lake, and we're pretty much crossing from where we were. It's kind of the top part of the lake, so we're going right across. So we're going to go across along the shore to keep it safe. So we get up. We're on this island. We wake up, and this local fishing boat comes by us, and they just look at us, and it was kind of surreal, because it was about 6 a.m. and they're blasting music from their fishing boat, and we could hear it. And I was just, I thought, where's this weird sound coming from? I was listening, and it was "Money for Nothing" by Dire Straits. just blasting, and they just come flying up to us, and they're like, whoa, cool, guys, and then they're just blast off again, and I was like, oh, okay, it's going to be a pretty cool day, and it was really calm, and I actually like that CD. It's a pretty good record. So we're heading out, and 6 a.m. we start paddling, and we had known if it was calm, we were going to try paddle right across the lake, because Lake Winnipeg can be extremely dangerous. Many people have died on that lake, and so we kind of kept to shore, and we got to this point where we're like, okay, we can either make for it, and it's 60 kilometers right across. Since we have all this experience paddling around the world, paddling in Hawaii, paddling on the ocean, we took a look at the weather, and we thought we're going to make a calculated risk and cross the lake. So we started off, it was just me and my dad, and just before we made the crossing of the lake, we had a little lunch, and I said to my dad, I'm so surprised we haven't run into any bears. And he's like, yeah, it's weird. And I had a little sausages I was cooking on a frying pan, and so we eat this big breakfast, and then it was 12 o'clock. We started paddling at 6, and we're on the one island, which is basically right in the middle of the lake. And we haven't seen any real wildlife, so we pack up our stuff, and the moment we push our canoe off, we look back and we see there's a bear just like right at the shore, and it's licking up the grease that I just made from our sausages. And I was like, oh well, I guess there are bears here. Good thing we didn't stay too long. So we keep paddling, and we're going the 60-kilometer stretch. Actually, I think it's 60 miles. So it's like 100 kilometers. So we're about 50 kilometers into our trek. And at this point, just a surreal moment. I was kind of, even though it didn't just happen out of nowhere, but it got so calm on the lake. And we're in the middle of the lake. And I looked, you couldn't see shore anywhere around us. So there was no birds, there was nothing. We're just in the middle of this lake, and there was just this rolling swell. And there was no clouds in the sky, and the sun was at my back, and I just remember looking up at one moment, and I literally couldn't tell what was up and down, and I started to get dizzy because there was no reference point, because the water just became the sky, and it just kind of went infinitely up and down. You couldn't really see anything because the lake was just so calm, and we were actually counting our blessings, because we known so many people had drowned on that lake, and we were just here in the middle of it, and we really were just following our compass. We couldn't see land. We just know we were going to this side of the lake, and we kept paddling in that direction. And eventually, after 18 hours of paddling, we make it across the lake. And the shore at first it was like, just a little sliver, and it just kept creeping up, and at that point fatigue is setting in, and you kind of get mad. And I was saying to my dad, he had these boots that were just regular boots, but I was like, those boots, you should have got smaller boots. Like, why'd you bring those big boots? And then I had a necklace, and he's like, that necklace is weighing us down, like it's slowing us down. And it just kind of little moments like that. And eventually make it across to this channel where we were going, and it was midnight. So it started at 6 a.m., midnight, 18 hours of paddling nonstop. We just shoved our canoe, pulled it up, set up our tent. We didn't wash or shower, and we kind of went right to bed. And we're just laying there in our clothes, just kind of sweaty, and we're just like, whoa, delirious. And I'm just thinking, I don't know what I was thinking. I was just like twitching. I twitch when I fall asleep. I was just twitching away there, and my dad was there, and all of a sudden this pelican actually flies right over our tent and hits our tent with its wings. And I guess that bear was still fresh in my mind that we had seen it, and I'm laying in bed perfectly sleeping, and I hear this little and for some reason I just subconsciously get in my head like, I need to scare away this bear. And even though I didn't know what it was, I was just thinking about this. My mind was racing even though I was kind of sleeping, and I just sit straight up, and I just start going, ah. My dad gets up, and he's like, what's going on? I don't know, bear. And he gets up, and he runs outside. There's no bear here. And I was like, I don't know. Anyways, it was a really funny moment, and we made... We still laugh about that. Me getting up in the middle of the night, just totally fatigued. We made it across the lake. We set history. We made history, you know, and we ended up talking to some people. And arrived in Norway House, the one community, the next day, and they're just like, "What? Like, that's a 2-week trip. Like, I can't believe you did that in one day." And he said, "Well, we had perfect weather, and we made it across there safely. Well, of course, safely. I'm here, and." It's just a great moment, and I just wanted to share you. Thank you so much, and talk to you later.